our natural inclination to understand the fact that there's an act that we need to do, and there's the Kaphana, the intent that engages the act, that illuminates the act. So naturally what we would feel is the action God wants us to do, and the intent is sort of more of the human component of the individual. In other words, the act of putting on tefillin, I mean, tefillin is God's thing. But the fact that I have a love for God through this act of putting on, or that I have an intent that I'm binding myself to God, that's the human element in the mitzvah. So now Rebbe says, actually, no. They're both godly. God wants them both. And the truth is, I can't have a divine connection to God because I humanly have a desire to connect to Him. It doesn't work that way. Why? Because God's infinite, I'm finite. The finite can't come with their finite Kaphana, intent, to attach themselves to God. It doesn't work. The only way it works is when the infinite God says, I want that. And when I want that, through that, you attach yourself, connect yourself to me. So what does God want? What's that He wants? Well, we know that He wants the mitzvah. He wants the act of being charitable. He wants the act of putting on tefillin. He wants the act of lighting Shabbos candles, amongst, the other things, of course. Those are by way of example. But He equally wants, and that's important, He equally wants our intent. In other words, our intent isn't merely something that I add to the equation here, because I can't add anything to the equation of binding myself to God if God doesn't want it. But He wants it. He wants my heart. He wants my intent. He wants my mindfulness. Not just that I want to be there. He wants it. And that's what makes it godly. And that's what makes it a divine will, that through that I illuminate the act with my kavanah, with my intent. That action becomes an illuminated attachment that God so desires. Now, why does He want it? So that's an important point over here. If He wants it because there's some virtue in it, so it's because of the virtue in it that He so desires it. Well, if there isn't a virtue, and that means it's limited, how much He wants it, how virtuous it is, that's how much He wants it. But God doesn't want it because of a virtue that's inherent in my intent, or even in my action. He wants it because so He desires it. Because that's what He desires, not because it is virtuous He desires it. Because He desires it, that makes it virtuous. Very different mindset that we probably have. We think, well, God desires virtue. Yeah, but what declares virtue exactly? There's something inherently about something that's virtuous? Where's that come from? That's not possible. The only reason it's inherently virtue is because God desires it. Because He desires it, now it becomes virtuous. So He desires my tefillin. Why? Because there's something inherently virtuous about tefillin? No. Because He desires it, that makes it virtuous. Now why does He desire it? He's God, beyond something that we can fathom. We can understand, give explanation, that tefillin bind is against the heart, a box against the heart and a box on the head with the mind, and you bind the mind and the heart together. But that's after the fact that God desires it and makes it therefore virtuous because He so desires it. Ooh, that's very different than how we look at things. We think There's virtue that's inherent in something. Well, it's only inherent because God so wants it. Otherwise, it's not. So what's inherent in that he wants? I mean, what is virtuous that because he desires it? The action. So we can maybe get that when it comes to the tefillin, but when it comes to the intent, well, isn't that virtuous? Because that's, I'm there, I'm engaged, and my heart's involved, and so on. That's not what makes it virtuous, because then it's my offering, a limited offering at that, and that's not what makes it virtuous. What makes it virtuous is because that's what God wants. He wants my heart. He wants my kaphana. He wants my intent. He wants my focus. He wants my mindfulness. How much does he want it? Infinitely. How much do I want it? Well, it depends. Right? He wants it infinitely. Just like he wants the act infinitely. Because God is infinite. And it comes from him. His desire. And therefore, it becomes essentially a desire that he wants, and that's what makes it essentially virtuous, my intent. It's not because I'm special, I'm mindful, I am good, look at me, I'm focused, I'm involved, I'm engaged, feel good about myself. No. That's all. Comes from the wrong place. Very unhealthy at that. It's virtuous because that's what he wants. Not because I'm virtuous, not because I'm special. God made it special. His desire, because he desires it. That's what makes it special. Now that I engage in that, so I'm engaging in what he desires that makes it something important to him, and that's special. How can God desire a simplistic whole one God? And he desires both the action and both the intent, the kaphana, and infinitely he desires both. So perhaps metaphorically we can understand as following. How much does a mother love her 10 children? Does she love them one like this and one like that and another one, No. A good mother loves them all equally the same. The love is an essential love, and therefore it will be all the same. Essentially. Now, in how that love is expressed, it may be to one more than another. Not because there's less love for the other, but maybe that child needs more love or expression of the love. And therefore needs more showing of that love. And therefore it's expressed more so to another. Not because the mother loves this child more than another. And then sometimes the child makes a big mistake. Yeah, it could be that a mother does sometimes act that way, or a father, right? And it's obviously wrong, because the love is coming from where? The essence of the parent, of the mother. Since it's coming from the essence of the mother, well, essentially the love is equal to all the children, all 10 children. Yet its expression will find a distinction, one child and another, because of the particular needs of that child, right? But it doesn't take away from the essential love. Same thing is, God essentially desires and loves our act of a mitzvah, and essentially desires the kaphana, the intent that goes with the act. He wants both. Essentially, it touches his very core. His very core. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Okay, let's get to some questions, some comments, some thoughts. Just want to remind you that our community after Pesach is going to be starting. There are going to be some changes in how we do our daily Tanya. Okay, Rick, I'm sorry I lost the feed over here, so I don't have your question. Okay, so how do we know that we have the right intent and the right action? Right? Well, I mean, if you're doing your mitzvahs, then you know you're doing the right action and the right intent that's involved in the mitzvah, right? So if you're doing a mitzvah of lighting Shabbos candles and you're thinking, or your intent is, can't wait to have the chicken soup for Shabbos, well, that's, not a good intent, but the action is there at least, right? Lori, does Kaphana within our mitzvah require removing the ego, or is it a transformation? Well, if the Kaphana is the intent that's involved in the mitzvah, so it's about, just as the act God wants, the Kaphana He wants, so it's about what God, wants of me, as opposed to what I want. That itself is a removing of your ego, right? Because what's ego? Edging God out. EGO, edging God out. That's what ego is. Edging God out, and it's about me. Well, the Kaphana, that's not Kaphana. Kaphana means intent, about the bond, the awareness, the mindfulness of the bond with God. So that's God there, God focused, as opposed to ego, which is edging God out and self-directed. Thank you, Lori. Okay, Instagram we're going to get in a moment. Why does God desire mitzvahs? Is it because He desires His own place on earth? Yes. That's why He desires the physical acts of the mitzvah, because He wants to dwell His very core and essence in this world, exactly. As we learned in chapter 36. John, so God wants and considers Kaphana as part of the mitzvah in order to maximize the divine light and connect with Him in the strongest possible way. Correct. Thank you, John. Denise, if your mitzvah and kavanah are in unison, is the vessel of the mitzvah expanded? Yes. Yeah, we're going to get more into that. We'll see. How can we increase our intent? Vicky asks. How can we increase? Well, the more Tanya we're learning, and the more we bring it into our lives, the more it will give us the capability of greater intent, kavanah. David, when it seems like a parent looks at one child like the favorite and gives them more favorable, positive attention, you are saying that they're still loving every child the same, but giving more attention to one and acting more as they like. I'm talking about the way it should be. Not every parent necessarily is loving every child equally, right, and giving every child what they need. So I'm talking about the way it should be. And could it be not that way? Of course, unfortunately, of course. Davida. Okay, Nadav and Avihu, we're not going to get into right now. How do we know the right intent? We do the right action, and it's not correct. Again, Lighting your Shabbos candles is a right action. Doing it at the right time, right? And, what more can I tell you? There's a bunch of questions on Instagram. Let me get to them. Put 2 question marks first, otherwise I'm not going to see it. David, amid speech, very quiet, whisper, my understanding, I hope. Okay. Bella, what if a person is not happy about doing a kindness for another? Do they still get the credit for it if they are the recipient? If you are a recipient of kindness from my understanding, you will still have to be thankful. Well, again, how much does God want the act of loving kindness? The act, not the mindfulness, not the intent. How much does he want the act? Infinitely. He wants it. So is there a value in you doing that without Kaphana? Absolutely. Absolutely. How much does he want the Kaphana, the intent, the mindfulness, the heart that's engaged? Infinitely. He wants both. You're missing one? Okay. So we're a work in progress. Right? We're working on it. But it doesn't take away how much infinitely he wants the act. I hope that helps you, Bella. Alice, those who attach themselves to Torah studies, primarily in mitzvahs, how are they seen? So Torah study is, in speech, there's a verbalization of the Torah studies. There's a thought, understanding and knowing what you learn. So we've learned previously on how great attachment that is, of course, to God. But then there's the mindfulness of it. There's also Kaphana in that when it comes to Torah study. Now, Torah versus Mitzvah, so we had in chapter 37, we went at great length in the discussion back and forth. And ultimately, both are great because Torah study gives us a deeper, profound attachment to God as opposed to the Mitzvah. It's uninternalized, the Mitzvah. We're embraced by God. But Torah gives us internalizing God's wisdom and will. It becomes a part of us. Okay. Yehuda, why does God desire to dwell in this world? If it was based on a reason, so then it would be limited. Because a reason limits things, right? I love you so much because you bake for me, you cook for me, and you laundry for me, and you do this for me, and do that for me. So it's going to be very limited. You do 5 things for me. Oh, okay, you do 10. You do 100. Oh, you do 1,000. It's still limited. It's for a reason. Take away the reason, take away the love. Why does God want a dwelling place? Just because he desires. Why? No why. No, there's no explanation to it. I hope I answered everybody's question online over here. And Marcy, please share with us. Hey, Marcy.
Sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand.
That's okay. But you can say something anyways, if you so desire. If not, that's fine. Not a problem. Not a problem. All right. Beautiful. All right, folks. A reminder. 1 o'clock Rambam. And Davida, I have less observant friends who think they have the right intent and actions, but it's not. Someone has said to me that they respect their father, and do what he wishes. They do things that their new father wants them, which is against Torah. Okay, so what can we do? We can just be a good example, a living example for them. Right? That's the best thing that I can suggest. Be a living example of what it means to, yeah. All right, folks. Again, last night's class, worthwhile hearing. On TanyaRabbi.com. You'll find it there. Or YouTube, Tanya Rabbi. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich and Kadesh, Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and pleasure to share with you, Tanya. Have a wonderful day. God bless you.